Choosing the right solicitor for your property sale or purchase is really, really important, and I'm delighted to be joined today by Javed Ahmed from MFG. Javed, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Great to meet you.
I know.
It's lovely to finally meet you. We obviously deal with you, a lot in terms of progression, so we're always, behind the keyboard, but we get to see your lovely face, so thank you for being here. So choosing the right solicitor from a buyer's perspective or a seller's perspective, perhaps you haven't moved for a long time, there are obviously solicitors and conveyances. So what's the difference between the two?
So a solicitor has all knowledge in all different types of areas of laws, but obviously, for example, in my instance, I specialise in property, but I can, if for example a complex matter arises, I can pick up on and deal with that matter, for example, rather than going to someone else. Whereas a licensed conveyancer, for example, solely deals with property, so for more complex transactions, they may not be able to deal with that matter, and therefore, if no one else within that firm does any areas of law, you may have to then appoint a different solicitor, which obviously can cost you money, time, and obviously delay.
So whether you're selling or buying a property, perhaps you haven't moved for a long time, choosing the right solicitor or conveyancer is really, really important. But if you haven't done it for a long time, how do you know where to start?
For me, personally, I would think there's a few key things or components that you should do, really. The first one would be to try and ring the local solicitors, so a Google search to find the local areas and the local solicitors to pick, and then to give them a call and then to see whether firstly you can speak to the actual fee earner who might be dealing with the case for you, or their secretary, because building a rapport from the straight off is, I think, the key thing. And personally, I would avoid online solicitors because you may not be able to deal with one solicitor or one case handler every time you call.
And I think it can be quite risky if you get a conveyancer or a solicitor on board that hasn't got the experience. The client at the end of the day is going to be advised by the solicitor, so if they haven't got the appropriate experience, if something's come up during that process, it can scupper a sale. Yeah,
definitely, and that's why I think it's also important, so when you do get that quote, going back to the quotation, finding the solicitor and also then maybe doing a research on that solicitor, how many years experience, where they are, and again the internet with that firm's solicitors will be able to help you and give you, so then it puts people's mind at ease then.
What about, and we hear this so many times, that if a sale falls through, do they have to pay for the process all over again?
Normally, your solicitor won't charge you the whole. What they will try and do if you're going to remarket it, is use, let's say, depending on where you are. If you're at an early stage, as you can imagine, nothing's really happened, so you're at an early stage. But if it's further down the line, so you probably use the inquiries that have been raised by the previous buyer and with the answers they've given to try and save that client some money. So that's what I would say, is just say, look, can you use the information that I've already supplied you again to try and save you money, and also at the end of the day the solicitor wants the outcome for the client and just to get it completed.
How can sellers be more prepared then, in terms of they haven't been on the market perhaps for a while, what could they get in place?
So the first thing to obviously find out is if your property is registered or unregistered. If it's obviously registered, it makes it easier because everything's only electronically available on the land registry. If it's unregistered, so the first thing I would obviously strongly advise is get your deeds in order. And then obviously appoint a solicitor, as we talked about, and find the right solicitor and the right estate agents, where you'll come in. And then obviously you said, what I would then, before it's even gone to the market, I would probably send the deeds to the solicitor and say, look, this is where my deeds, I want to instruct you, can you have a look at them, see if there's anything that I'm missing, so that when it goes to market, the solicitor's already dealing with it, get it all set up in readiness anyway, and getting the client care pack sent out.